Brad, thanks for coming in today.
Well, I'm glad to be here. It's always wonderful to hang out with you. So this will be great.
This will be fun.
Be very fun.
Brad, you've been my security guy for 15 years now. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Well, I've been doing security for 25 years. I started off out of electronics school, and then I was looking for a job and just couldn't find anything. So I ended up doing security, found the job that actually wanted to hire me. So here I am doing it for 25 years,
Brad, what's the name of your company?
It's 24/7 Security. You and Trent have been there since the beginning.
Well, you've been doing this for 25 years. So what happened to the 10 years before that?
I was working at Lafayette. So met my wife. So she wasn't my wife at the time, but girlfriend, getting serious. So I ended up, trying to move to Baton Rouge. And actually my security company had a location in the Baton Rouge area. And I tried it, but it just wasn't a good fit for me. They were just so unorganized, and I just couldn't operate like that. So my wife, Lindsay, she had a good job. She said, I know you wanted to do this. So, I know you can do it. And she just gave me the opportunity. She said, I can pay all the bills. So there wasn't a need to worry about or stress about, paying bills. So she was able to handle that for me.
Dude, that's nice. So she pushed you to start your own company.
Pretty much, it was a dream of mine, so she let me do it.
That's a good wife, man.
She's a keeper.
Yeah. Right.
10 years.
I hope so.
10 years. 10 years,
That's it's so important to have a very supportive wife,
Very important in life, The older you get, the more you realize how important it is.
My wife is very supportive. We started off in the bar business and the restaurant game and the long hours and the late nights and the not being home on weekends. And, and she's constantly trying to figure out how she can help me better. I'm sure your wife is the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
We come home with problems and we're not always able to talk about it. We just feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So it used to be where I used to talk to her and, she would ask me what was going on or what was wrong. And I couldn't tell her. I was just like, I got to figure this out. It's just stress. Right.
Right.
Now how she does it for me is she figures out what I need before I know what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And then she kind of just does it. It was whether it be, making dinner or making sure the kids are quiet, when I'm in the office on a phone call or something. She finds little ways to make my life a little bit easier.
That's good. That's important.
It is.
Especially in a relationship.
There's a lot of things that you do that prevent or that alleviate stress for me. Monitoring my buildings, making sure my home is safe. A lot of it has to do with security. Why did you get into security in the first place?
I kind of just fell into it. The more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. It was something that, was unique. You had to learn different devices, different, piece of equipment. And, it's interesting. And it has to do a lot with electronics. And I went to school for electronics. I just enjoy it, and definitely helping people out, meeting people, talking to people, especially in their home setting, is different than anywhere else. It's comfortable for me now. If at first it was not.
They're vulnerable when they call you, huh?
Sometimes. Sometimes I've had break-ins where, people, they need it right away, and you do what you have to do to make them comfortable and get the security they want.
You're very tech savvy. I know that because every time I have a problem with any of my systems, I call you first. I'm like, Brad, I don't know what to do. What do you tell me? Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on?
That's every time.
Is that that's like the very first thing you tell me? It's like, yes, I did that.
Reset.
Yeah.
Always have to reset, just like yourself. Every once in a while you got to reset.
I'm lucky because every time something goes wrong, you're there to fix it for me. Well, so thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm glad I could help. We
were talking before and you talked about how your favorite part of being in this business was talking to people.
Right.
Can you elaborate on that for me a little bit? Like what about talking to people makes you happy?
Well, having conversations and just, talking to people and learning things. Learning is important. You always learn, but you learn from especially older people, you know, that experience different things that I've never experienced. And, you know, you learn things from it, you know. That's what I get. You know, I enjoy that part.
Do you use a lot of AI in security now?
I mean, you get it in the security camera aspect of it. You can choose what you want. If you want notifications on different things, like people only when so-and-so is, or anybody comes by, you can get notifications on that. You can get notifications on vehicles. You can get notifications on animals. You probably don't want the animal notifications because, you know, animals come out from everywhere. It's your neighbor's dog. They come out and, you know, trip your cameras. You may not care. The software in the camera will pick up, you know, those kind of things.
That's super cool. You're going to have to adjust my settings because my front yard camera always detects animals and I still get that notification. But what I do really love is the vehicles and the people in my driveway. Mm-hmm. That one, I use that one more than anything else.
Wow, that's an easy fix.
Can you tell me why on my back patio camera, when there's a spider or a spider web, mm-hmm. it tells me that there's a person there and it'll send me a notification at like 12:30 at night and freaks me out. There's like a person in your backyard and you're like, dude, there's a person? How do I change that?
That's where AI lacks.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, it's looking more or less for movement. Sometimes spider webs have, you know, branches at the bottom. May look like legs and we're moving at the bottom part of the spider web. And if it looks like any kind of movement like a human would do, you know, you wouldn't think it would look like a human. But if you're talking about, you know, software, it could, you know, pick it up as a human.
That makes a lot of sense because I was always wondering, there's no way this spider looks like a person.
Right.
But I can see how the spider web would move like legs and stuff.
Oh, and it's definitely interesting when you look at some of those videos at night. You're like, what is that? You know, it may be a spider web, but it may just be something moving in the air or something. Bugs, you know, like wasps mm-hmm. flying up to a camera. A lot of them build their homes near cameras, and they can definitely set them off. But, you know, it could always be tweaked.
Well, I'm glad I have it for sure. I'm really glad I have it because it just gives you peace of mind.
Yeah. I mean, I have the same system as you, and it definitely helps a lot. The software and everything and the cameras have gotten a lot better where, you know, it's a lot, you know, more reliable and definitely necessary, especially nowadays. So many break-ins and you have to be protected, or at least have a good warning system if someone were coming in your home. Anytime at night when you have to wake up and try to figure out what's going on, you know, what caused the alarm, it's definitely confusing.
It's very scary. That's scary. The first thing I do is I look at my phone. I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I know I do that for the restaurants a lot too.
Yeah.
So it's saved me a good bit of times because where we are downtown in Hammond, sometimes there's people that walk around at night trying to tug on doors and stuff. So there's been several times where the alarm system has deterred somebody from entering the building.
Yeah.
You know, we might forget to lock it or something one night, but we were pretty good about setting the alarm. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot of times when that's saved us.
That's good.
You know? So every time that goes off, the alarm company calls right away. And I'm always on the phone like, give me a second.
Yeah.
And I'm just searching cameras. Thank God, 9 times out of 10, there's nothing going on, mm-hmm. you know, but being able to check those cameras and really knowing that there's nobody in the building.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I remember when I had an alarm system before and I didn't have the cameras. That sucks. Mm-hmm. You know, like now I can be like, all right, there's nothing going on. I can like confidently say, don't send the police.
Right.
Before I would just say, just send the police. It doesn't matter. Right. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah. And a lot of systems nowadays, you can get the cameras like at your house where if you have those cameras and they're tied into at the monitoring station, you could actually have that monitored by them. So as soon as your alarm goes off, they can look at the cameras and say, hey, there's someone on site. You know, we need to call the police right away and bypass maybe calling you, If they see that, there's a serious issue that they need to call now, they can do that. And the police will respond quicker to an actual video verified alarm compared to just a regular burglar alarm. Because as you know, they can go off. Unfortunately, they do, when equipment gets old, they do just go off for no reason, or needs to be adjusted in some way.
Batteries get low or something. Sensors go out.
It's unfortunate. It's electronics, it
can't last forever.
They do last, but they don't, definitely not forever.
So aside from just monitoring alarms and installing cameras and installing alarm systems, what else does your company do?
I try to just focus on cameras and security and not the other stuff that I could possibly do, like access control and stuff. I try not to do any of that. I can, but I choose to focus on the things that are important. I try to focus on what I'm good at and not worry about the other stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you do like whole home automation too, don't you?
Yes. That goes into the security. Nowadays, it's nice to have with your security system because you can get, if someone walks up to your house, the camera picks them up or the security goes off, you can have certain lights come on. And that also is a deterrent, so you're not. So they think that someone is actually flipping lights and turning on lights and, someone's home. Oh no, they know I'm here. Let me go, somewhere else. Let me hide because this is not going to be the place that I want to break into today.
I know my house is set up that way.
Yeah.
Every single light switch that I have in my house is controlled by your system.
Right.
So the best feature out of the whole thing is when I leave the house, I can select all my lights and turn them off all at the same time.
Right.
That's probably my favorite feature out of all of it.
You get it set up where you can arm it and all the lights turn off automatically. You can set up rules, and the rules are always interesting because there's so many things you could do. And sometimes I'll just start thinking of things. I'm like, if this happens, you can make this happen. And it's kind of cool because you don't have to worry about doing it manually. Your system will do it for you.
I didn't even think about that.
The more devices you have, the more things you can do. So like thermostats and everything else. Arm the system. You can have your thermostat turn the temperature up or down depending if it's hot or cold. Just turn on lights, turn off lights. They even have sensors where if you have water leaking in your house, you can have a sensor that's on the plumbing, the main line coming in, and it'll detect the flow. So it may take a few weeks, but it'll learn how you use water normally in a day. It'll learn your routine.
Oh, that's super cool.
And I have it personally in my house to try it out. I didn't think it would be that useful, but I've had instances where certain things have happened where I've gotten notifications. I've had an issue with a toilet, and the toilet would just start running for no apparent reason because the flapper in there doesn't seat right in the toilet. And you can also get the switches where it'll actually turn off the water at the main. So if you're away, you don't have to call anybody. It'll automatically shut it off, or you can just do it manually if you want, if you detect that. Something as simple as water, you wouldn't think
I never would have thought of
issue, but it can be.
If you're not home, that comes in so handy.
Oh, it is. It's very handy.
If you're on vacation or something and something bad happens, you can just shut it off right away.
Yep. Prevent a flood of your house.
What other technologies do you have that I need to know about?
I could tell you a story about an incident the other day that possibly saved a customer's life.
You're about to tell me a story.
Yes.
About an incident that saved a customer's life.
Right. So
Tell me.
Had an instance where a customer had a carbon monoxide detector. They were just going off, The monitoring station called me and said, this person's having an issue with the carbon monoxide detectors, And I was like, yeah, okay, let me talk to him. And after talking to him, I discovered that, we have an issue here. The detectors typically don't act the way that they were acting for this particular instance. And I said, we need to call the fire department. You need to get out the house because there's possibly carbon monoxide and we'd rather be safe than sorry, And ended up, the fire department came. As soon as they opened the door, the detectors were going off, There was carbon monoxide throughout the house.
So
But-
you saved their life.
Possibly.
Did
Yeah.
they pay extra for that?
Definitely not. It comes with the package. You get the alarm monitoring package. You get, fire protection, carbon monoxide detection, if you have those devices. So you could have an unlimited amount of devices and it will still be monitored the same price. Some companies actually charge you more per device. I don't charge more per device when it comes to security. Price may change because of video and packages and different stuff like that. But you can have fire devices, you can have carbon monoxide devices, and it's all one price with your burglar alarm. I know most of my customers very well, and I know if they have an issue, I can pretty much tell them over the phone what the issue is because I've been to their house, I know their system. It may take me a few seconds to remember it, but I pretty much remember every house if I've been there, and I can pretty much figure out what's going on.
You for sure have a good memory.
I could remember homes. I remember names typically, but mostly if I walk into a house, I can tell you everything about that house. About when it comes to security system, I can remember everything.
You had to remind me about my own house the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, okay, you're right. That I was like, how do you remember this?
Well, I have a good memory for that.
You always come in clutch whenever I need you.
I try.
I might overuse you. I know.
I wouldn't say that at
Do it
all.
because I'm going to use you more.
Go ahead.
I do. You're the first person I text. I'm like, Brad, check this out. And then it's always like, hey, I'm going to look into it.
Yeah.
And you always do. And it's right away too. So it's very rare that I have to wait on anything from you. Usually you're waiting on me for something.
And that's always a good part of, being a local company, being a small company. You can do things that these big companies can't do. If you call into a big company, they're going to tell you, what's your address? What's your account number? Because they don't know you. If you tell me your name or if I see your caller ID, I already know it. I'm going to say, hey, Miss Jones, how you been? But the big companies don't know. They don't know you. And that's important.
That's what I like most about this is it feels like very individual.
Right.
I don't feel like it's just, I'm using ADT or something.
Right.
Or there's a call center that calls me and I never talk to an actual person. I'm always talking to you.
Right.
I have your phone number. I get to text you back and forth. Sometimes I don't even need to talk to you. Sometimes I just text you and say, hey, Brad, look into this. And you send me a text back, fixed. I'm like, all right, I love that.
Yeah. It's come a long way in the security industry where, if you have an issue, most of the time I can fix it remotely. The other companies, you're just talking to an operator. They can't do the technical stuff. They would call a technician, then he has to do all that stuff. But when you talk to me or call me after hours, most of the time I answer, and I'll immediately tell you what to do, how to fix it, or I'll fix it for you remotely.
You're really good about that.
It comes natural.
That's why I recommend you to everybody.
I appreciate that.
If I need something, you're always there for me. You're always there quickly too. I know you do all of our restaurants and you do our homes, but I know you do a lot of other restaurants too. What other restaurants do you do?
Well, I do, I have Jack in the Box is one company I deal a lot with. I deal with Izzo's Illegal Burrito, and I also deal with Lit Pizza, Modesto's, and Roca Pizzeria. I have a lot of restaurants, and most of my business accounts are restaurant accounts. So I'm very familiar with restaurants and understand how the need for, changing codes more frequently because you'll have employee turnover. You know how restaurant business is. The turnover is a lot. If you need something, I can easily do it for you. You don't even have to worry about it.
I know I've had to use you quite a few times for that.
Especially if you fire someone that, may come back and do something. You need that turn off immediately. You can't wait till the next day.
Yeah, you're pretty quick about that.
And I can turn it off.
You're in the security business and trust is very important.
Definitely.
I know I trust you I trust you so much that I let you come into my house even when I'm not there.
I know. And I have a lot of customers like that. Like some customers would just be like, just go on in and, the code's this or the key's underneath the mat. Come on in, do what you need to do and just close it back up. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm not doing anything. It's just very odd sometimes trying to do that.
Is it weird that people trust you so much?
It is weird sometimes, you get that sense of, I'm not going to screw this up, but, if I was a bad person, I could really do a lot of damage.
Well, I think if you were a bad person, nobody would ask you to come in their house when they weren't there.
Exactly. And you're not supposed to have a criminal, doing security because they actually do background checks and stuff like that. So typically a security technician, if they're licensed, should not have any criminal background,
Are there a lot of technicians or security companies out there that aren't licensed?
There was an issue with a company that was, working on a different license. They were working on the electrical license, and electricians do have in their licensing. I don't know exactly how their licensing worked, but it's a lot easier to get one master electrician, and electricians can install security systems. They have one person that's certified, and they can hire as many employees as they want, work under that one employee, the technician, the certified electrician. They can work under him without being verified through, background checks or anything. There's no background check, and I think the state has come around and, closed those loopholes. But if they're in business, they're supposed to be, licensed, and everybody's licensed in Louisiana through the fire marshal's office.
Okay.
So
if someone's looking to get a security system, I would recommend you. But if they're looking for someone, what are some things that they need to look for to make sure that they're choosing the right person who's licensed, who's trustworthy?
Well, you definitely want to, do a background check, check, reviews, that's important. You can also go to the fire marshal's office. And they have a spot on their website where you can check to see if the company is licensed.
Really?
Yes.
Where is that on the fire marshal's website? Like, what do I have to go? What
under
do I have
licensing.
To look under?
So if you go to the Louisiana fire marshal's website, you're going to go under licensing. There's a section on the licensing that also says contractors, contractor list. They change it from time to time, but it's under licensing, then contractors, and there should be a search option to search for any contractors, and you should definitely check to see if they're licensed, because there are companies that do it, especially cameras. They'll do cameras without a license, and you're required in Louisiana to have a license to do camera systems, so you definitely want that.
That's good to know. I never, up until now, I never thought about checking my security person. What else do you think people need to know about what you do?
I keep people safe. I try, at least. The discount you get on your homeowner's insurance is also important. So if you have a monitored alarm system and you request a certificate, I'll give you the certificate anytime you want, and you can get a discount from your homeowner's insurance, because nobody likes to pay full price for your homeowner's insurance. And if you get the discount, sometimes in certain situations, it offsets the price that you're going to pay for your alarm system. And that's important,
Oh, wow. So you just have to show your insurance company that you are protected, and you get the discount.
Right.
So it's a wash.
Can be, especially fire protection, that they determine if you have fire protection in your house, that gives you a bigger discount than if you just have burglar alarm monitoring. It can offset its price, because some people look at it and they're like, oh, I don't want to pay this much a month, But if you get that discount, it's definitely, I'll give you that peace of mind without having to really pay for it.
I feel like that's a no-brainer.
It is.
I know I'd get that certificate from you. So
yes.
That was a pretty good tip. What other tips do you have for everybody?
Lighting and stuff. That's a good aspect to have with your security cameras. I can talk about, camera monitoring. It's a new thing that we've been doing, and a lot of companies do it now. but your cameras can ultimately become your security system. Like your cameras at home, whenever it sees this object, like a person, a vehicle, or a animal, but you wouldn't want to monitor it for animals, but typically you can. But if your camera picks that up, it'll automatically send that video to the monitoring station. The monitoring station will try to verify through calling you, or just, if they see something that's emergency, they'll just call the police right away. But I've had instances through customers that, it's caught people. It's very useful in businesses, especially, when they have, let's say they have a yard with vehicles, and they have equipment in that yard, and they want to know if somebody comes in that yard. Before, what do? I mean, how do you cover a yard? You used to be able to just put beams that would shoot around the perimeter of the fenced-in yard. And if it went off, which could go off for anything, because if a bird just happened to fly, a big enough bird that was in the yard could cause it to go off. If a piece of trash flies off on a windy day, it could trip those things. But the cameras, if they're tripped, they're tripping because most likely there's a person, a vehicle, or an animal there.
That's a very good tip. I never thought about it because I was worried about what happens within the four walls of the building. But if you have a yard or something, how do you monitor that? And that's very cool that you can now monitor and send video footage to the alarm company.
Right. So, even in construction sites is very, very crucial to have, monitoring. You're gonna have instances where people are gonna come into the home and they're gonna, they may try to steal something. Because, today, building equipment is expensive. Cheapest way to get it, unfortunately, is to steal for some people, to take that equipment or take the material. It's becoming more important for builders, to have systems where they're monitored, the exterior of the home. You can put cameras on the inside, but it's very difficult on a construction site. Any big construction site, these, especially the commercial customers, they're building huge buildings. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of material, worth of equipment in that yard. They definitely want to know about if someone's in that perimeter, doing something they're not supposed to be. I'm
sure you've seen a lot in your 25 years of doing security. Mm-hmm. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen?
Craziest thing? I've seen tons of vehicle accidents. You see a lot of vehicle accidents, mailboxes being hit. People don't think about that, but when your mailbox is hit, how do you catch them? Unless you have video recording, you're not going to catch anybody. At least it gives you a chance to see a vehicle type. And if it's your neighbor that may have done it, you would definitely know that right away.
When you said mailboxes, the first thing I thought about was like high school kids with the baseball bat.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that.
That happens too. That would definitely be important for you to figure out, if the neighbor's kid had come over and banged your mailbox in.
I don't know what happened.
Mailboxes aren't exactly cheap, They're
definitely not cheap. You
spend a few $100s to replace a mailbox typically nowadays. And then you have to pay labor, or typically. If you don't know how to do it yourself, you're going to be paying some guy to fix your mailbox.
So for a restaurant, what would you recommend a restaurant to get?
Well, you definitely want a security system, that protect the perimeter of the business. Security cameras, if it's just basic recording all the time, because as you know, liability, something happens, slip and falls. If someone were to steal something during the workday, it doesn't matter what time. It doesn't have to be after hours. If you have employees, you're going to have employees that steal. Unfortunately.
That is very unfortunate. You don't ever want to believe that, but having a security camera system I've used it more than once.
Yeah.
To catch people.
And before I did security, I didn't think about that, but it's just something I see more and more. It's people they take They take things.
They do. They'll take cases of like proteins and put in a garbage bag, and then put the garbage bag in a trash can, and then they'll take the trash can out, and you're like, you can like watch them like take it from the cooler to the dish pit to the back door to their car, because we have cameras on the outside too, so you can kind of follow them the whole way. And they're bold. You know how it came in handy a couple of months ago. The police came to see us, and it wasn't anything that we did. Just want to put that out there.
Okay.
But the police came and they wanted to look at our video cameras because there was an incident outside on the street in front of our building, and someone had gotten hit, and there was a lot of like back and forth about who was telling the truth. So we were able to show them the footage, and the cop saw it. It's like, nope, that's all I needed.
Right.
So it comes in handy a lot too. And it's not only because you have security systems, but when other people have security systems, they're able to see things that maybe your cameras aren't able to see.
Right.
So we help each other out a lot whenever it comes to that. Like neighbors will come by and be like, hey, did you get footage of XYZ? And it's like usually someone like doing something they're not supposed to be doing and running away.
Right.
And then we're able to catch them and kind of timestamp, how long between this and this, and it helps out a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that most people have camera systems now, especially businesses. I remember when it used to be not so common, but it's a lot more common now.
Yeah, it is. And I've seen stuff with people that have gotten murdered. Not the murder itself, but I've gotten video of a guy chasing a girl that ended up getting murdered, and they ended up trying to figure out who it was, and they figured out that this guy was following this woman for quite a long time. She was a college student.
Dude, that's sad.
It is sad.
That's super sad.
Yeah, I was just watching the news one day, and they were showing the video of cameras, and I'm like, I think I have a camera that's right behind that camera. So I was able to get the cops information. I definitely called the customer and, said, hey, look, this is what's going on. Do you mind if I check your cameras for you and, see if there's any useful information for the police? And ended up finding it. And as soon as that I gave the police my information and that I had footage, they said, can you come over right away? And I drove to drop it off in Lafayette, because I was out of town, but I was able to pull it up. And this was years ago when video wasn't even that high quality. Nowadays, it's a lot harder. But, it was able to help, solve a case.
You're like a modern day Batman.
The equipment is. But I definitely know how to set it up, and I can make it, I could utilize it so that it does the most for you.
Dude, that's so awesome. You really are a good guy.
I try.
Who was your first account ever? Since when you first started your company, who was your first commercial account?
I did have a customer who he was, I think he was probably 75 at the time. He had a jewelry business. He was one of my first customers. He was there for me, and gave me business whenever a lot of people were not giving me business because of, trust issues, because a young company is very hard to trust.
I can see how that'd be difficult.
It's a lot easier now with 15 years in that, people trust me. Especially some of my big customers will be like, they'll build new locations and they don't even have to have a meeting and telling me what they want. I already know what they want and I know how to protect them. And they pretty much just say, do what we did on the last job. And, I know you did it good last time. And you always do that. And, I can do it very easily, but you always try to run some extra wire just in case they do change their mind or something's different about one location, that I have that backup and say, hey, you want to add that camera? I got you. We got this. You're
really good about that. I take it for granted that for 15 years, I've never had to think about finding a new alarm company.
I hope
or
not.
someone. Yeah.
I hope not 15 years later from here.
But I just never thought about that until now. It's so nice to not have to worry about that.
Right.
I just call you up and things get done.
Yeah. Sometimes that happens, you just never know when you need your system. It's one of those things you you think you may never use, but whenever it's there, whenever you need it, it's important.
You're right. I never think about having an alarm system. I never think about having cameras. It's not something that's top of mind at any given point throughout the day.
Until something happens.
Until something bad happens.
Mm-hmm.
When something bad happens, I thank God that I've got you. Because then I can always figure it out, or at least protect myself.
Right. That's important. At home and in your business. I think that more important than, doing advertisement is just doing a good job. Do a good job and have that relationship with the customer, and you'll have a customer for life, and you'll have referrals. And that's very important, because you hear a commercial on TV, you're going to maybe use that product, but if your friend tells you that's a good burger or it's a good anything, that you're more likely to, try it, and you may enjoy it as well.
You trust someone that you're close to. You trust their opinion more than you trust a promo or an ad or a commercial or a radio jingle.
Right.
I know that if a friend of mine told me that, hey, you need to use this person, I'm already halfway there.
Right.
Like, I don't need to question too much, as long as they're hitting all the major things for me.
They've been vetted.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do that.
Because if it's a really good friend, they'll tell you straight, like, hey, you probably don't want to use this person.
Don't use this guy. Call ADT.
Yeah. But that's why I don't hesitate to recommend you to anybody, because you're not going to make me look bad.
Well, I appreciate that. I try to do the best that I possibly can to, make sure you're happy and make sure everything is working correctly on your system, and, do those checks and, checks on the back end that have to be done that you don't see that are done correctly, because a lot of times if you're not careful, you can put in information at the monitoring station incorrect and things may not work right. But I try to make sure that everything is, since I am everybody, I do the paperwork, I do billing, I do technical support, I do installation, I do all those things. So I know if I do it, I have to make sure everything is done right, because, I'm the one that you're going to fuss and you're going to say you screwed up, and I'll have to admit, yes, I screwed up, but, I have to check everything to make sure it's right.
You don't screw up very often though, so that's a good thing.
And I try to make sure I have checks and balances in the company. So, whenever I sign up a customer, you fill out a form, and I'm going to take that form and I'm going to put it directly into the monitoring stations and billing, so that, all the information is correct, And in a lot of it, I remember pretty much whenever we had that conversation, when you filled out the paperwork and, you may have this happen and you may not have written it down, but I already know that what you want, So
that's awesome.
That is nice to have.
Where'd your work ethic come from?
A lot of it's probably my father. My father, he pretty much had the same job most of my life when I was a kid. He just worked really hard, He had that mindset, no one owes you anything. You got to work for it. And you don't rip anybody else. You don't rip anybody off. You don't burn bridges. And I try not to. When I started the security industry, majority of the things we were doing was hardwired. And you're talking about, we were doing probably 2 to 3 installs a day in the summertime. And you're running probably roughly 20 wires per job, to every window, to every door. It adds up, and it is very hot. And you're spending hours up in the attic pulling wire, sweating, just drenched, trying to not fall through a roof, through a ceiling. But it was definitely more challenging. But nowadays, it's just wireless has helped a lot. It's more reliable. You can do more things with it. You can put sensors where you were not able to put before, and do things that you couldn't do.
I know that whenever you first started telling me to go wireless, I didn't trust it. I was like, a hardwire has to be more secure. It has to be safer. But nothing's failed me yet.
Yeah, hardwired has an advantages, but it has a big disadvantage, especially in the security industry with lightning, because every single window door is attached to a metal box, an electronic device that it's hooked up to your electrical. And a lot of times, if you get a good strike in your house or somewhere around in the neighborhood or, down the street, or even the electric company turning on and off the power, they could send a surge through the line. It could burn out every sensor in your house. And then you have to also probably, if that happens, you probably have a burnt alarm panel. Then you also have all your sensors that has to be replaced. And then sometimes even in older installations, you're going to have instances where you may try to pull a contact, especially hardwired contacts, which are recessed. You may not be able to get to them, or you try to pull them out and the wire breaks and snaps right into the wall. There's nothing you can do at that point. But wireless, every individual device is separate. So if you have a lightning strike, you may damage your panel, but you're not going to damage all your devices because they're not physically tied to the main board, the main panel.
They're not all connected together.
Right.
What are some other advantages of having like more wireless components?
The ease of install. The customer I can mail them in certain instances where I know that he may be a little technical. I can say, hey, you want to add this, I can save you money if I just send you the part. I'll have everything set up for you. Just let me know when you install it. You can mount it. You can do whatever, and I'll have it ready for you. So that cool. That aspect's good. Also, when you have a hardwired system, most of the alarm panels only limit you to say 6 or 8 zones. You can go higher than that, but typically most systems you're only using 6 or 8 zones. So you may have to tie in all your bedroom windows together. You may have to tie in at least all your windows in one room together. And if there's a problem with one of the windows that is broken, you lose all your windows in that same area because you have to disable the zone that controls multiple devices. But wireless, every device is separate. So you can turn off one device and it's not affecting other windows in that same area. So it has those advantages. And cellular in another way, because that's another wireless aspect of the security industry. When I first started, we used to wire security systems to a phone line. Well, they're very easily defeated by someone coming. First thing they could do is cut your wires for your phones coming in the house, and they can get access and do whatever without anyone being notified. But nowadays, with the cellular, you get monitored. That's through the air, so it's wireless, and you get the app aspect, which early on when I first started, it wasn't possible to be able to arm your alarm system from your phone. It's one of those things where now you can just arm your alarm system, and you can put your lights on, you can look at your cameras, you can do so many things from your phone that you were not able to do years ago. So that wireless aspect is nice.
That's a cool feature to have. Once again, I take that for granted too. I can control my entire house from my phone. I don't even have to be at my house.
Right.
I can be anywhere in the world right now, and I could do it.
Yep. And you don't need Wi-Fi. So being devices on the security system, the security system has a cellular module. So if you were to connect, let's say a thermostat on your camp that you don't have Wi-Fi normally at, you just may bring your own cellular Wi-Fi when you come to the camp or whatever. But like thermostats and lights and stuff, you can control everything through your alarm system, which is using cellular. So it's not using Wi-Fi. So a lot of these devices like Nest and everything, they require that you have internet, not on a security system. So you're going to pay that fee for alarm monitoring and thermostat access. but you're also paying the connection to that thermostat, because that thermostat is using your cellular that you're paying for the alarm monitoring. So you don't have to pay an extra bill.
I love that. I would 100% recommend that to anybody. The convenience alone is just amazing.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have nowadays, and you don't really think about it whenever you have a home, how nice it would be to have everything in the palm of your hands.
It is. That was the first thing I did when I moved into my most recent house, is I wanted everything to be controlled from my phone. Mm-hmm. It took us a little bit, but we finally did it.
Yes.
We did.
It took a lot of devices.
Because my kids will forget to turn things off, and like, I don't want to go upstairs. I'm just like, done.
No, I do the same thing. I have a upstairs, and one thing my wife will tell me is, hey, you left the light upstairs on. I'm not going up there. Mm-mm. I just flip it from my phone. I'm like, don't even worry about it. I got it.
When my kids were little, I used to mess with them all the time. And now they know that I can control it from my phone. Uh-huh. But before, they would just get like kind of freaked out but
yeah, there's a ghost in the house.
Yeah. That's usually what I told them. Okay, yeah, I don't know if that makes me a bad dad or not. But it was just fun.
Yeah.
Now they know. They're like, Dad, stop messing with them. All right, fine. They're getting older.
Yeah, older. How old are they now?
6 and 3 now.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, they grow up so fast.
You knew me when I didn't have any kids.
No kids at all.
That's crazy.
You were young.
Now that makes me feel really old. What are some frequently asked questions that your clients ask? Like before they go with you, like what kind of questions do like new customers ask you?
I guess everybody wants to know, what can they do on their phone? What can they expect? And, you can arm your alarm system. You can look at all your cameras. You can do everything from the palm of your hands, and turn on lights, and turn on, off the air conditioner units, turn them on, check to see if there's any water leaks in your house. There's just so many things that you could possibly check by being notified.
I know one of the devices that I have, the thermostat for the upstairs is in a loft area, so it cools off a lot faster. But you gave me one of these little sensors that I can put in whatever room that's the hottest.
Right.
And it'll tell my thermostat to not turn off until the room is at a certain temperature.
Right.
Whereas I used to have to wait for the thermostat, and I just have to crank it down super low.
Right.
To cool off, the other room. But that's a pretty cool feature. Yeah,
it is. It is nice to have, and you can use it for that particular area, or you can use it as a average. So say you want to average the temperature on your thermostat and a temperature in your room. You can put an average and then just set it to a certain average.
That's so cool. What else can my alarm system do that I don't already take advantage of?
Video monitoring would be one. You can get that cop to show up without the alarm going off.
I need that for the restaurants for sure.
Yeah, we can work on that. So a lot of people don't think about this, but door locks. A lot of people get these door locks on their house to unlock and lock their door whenever they're walking down the street. Who wants to carry their keys? If you want to take a walk, you don't have to worry about carrying keys and doing all that stuff. And the great thing about having a door lock that's part of your alarm system is that you can make the door lock turn off the alarm system. So you come in your house and you put your code on your door, you're gonna turn off the alarm at the same time. So you're not doing 2 steps. And you could do that and also turn on your lights outside on your porch. You could do different things that can turn on as soon as you punch the code in that door lock, because it knows that you're home and we need to do this, this, and this. Also, your garage doors is a different aspect of the security industry now. If you come in, you open the garage, you can make certain things happen. Your lights can turn on, but also you can have that garage door work on the alarm system so that, you can open and close it from your phone. So you get that on your app as well. So it's all in one app, which is easier than switching between multiple apps. And the more devices you have, like I said earlier, it makes things easier because you can make certain things happen. After one thing happens, you can make another thing happen and another thing happen that you would automatically be doing manually. It's just done automatically now.
I'm glad we had this conversation today because I'm going to mess around with the scenes that I have set for my house. Because I have one where I just call it lock it down. So when I hit it, you know, it's for when I'm at the house and I'm going to bed or something. It'll turn the alarm on, turn all the lights off. It'll close the garage doors. It'll lock all my exterior doors. I think I have it set to where it turns on like certain exterior lights as well, certain floodlights.
Right.
So yeah, I do have that set up, but I feel like I can do so much more with that.
The more devices you have, you can do so much more. You need to get that flood device.
I do.
And carbon monoxide. Make sure you have carbon monoxide in your home, which I think you do.
I do.
Carbon monoxide is not a cool thing to have in your house. You know, it's very dangerous. It's not. You can't smell it. You would never know unless that detector went off.
I'm glad that's never gone off for me.
Well, I'm glad too. But you know, everybody thinks, or a lot of people think that if you have carbon monoxide detector, you're detecting gas leaks, and you're not. You know, that's one thing that if you're really worried about gas leaks, you'd have to have a separate device. I've had a customer who had carbon monoxide detectors, but then they ended up having a leak. It was a slow leak over years. I think it was 6 months to a year that they had no indication that they actually had a gas leak. And according to them, that, you know, gas will affect your brain. You know, if you're smelling that all the time, it'll affect the chemical in your brain. And, you know, I think the son was having to go to like a oxygen chamber and stay in there for a while because their brain was not operating like it should because of that exposure to gas, and there was no indication. So gas detectors are also important.
So a gas detector and a carbon monoxide detector, they're two different things?
Right. Carbon monoxide's a byproduct of the burning of the gas, so then the scent is removed. You could probably smell the gas, but if it's a slow gas leak that you may not sense it, you know, you may not know that there's a gas leak, especially if you have a camper, you know, someplace that you're not going out to a lot. You may have a gas leak and you may never know about it until the house is up in flames, you know, something happens, you know. Hope I gave you enough information.
That was pretty good, man. Well, Brad, I learned a lot today. Thanks for coming by.
Well, it's my pleasure. You know, I enjoyed this.